The rain poured softly over the quiet neighborhood as the city lights flickered across the soaked roads. Inside a dimly lit room, a woman sat by the window, her eyes lost in the reflection of her own past. Her name was Amina, a woman who had spent her entire life giving. Her voice was calm but tired, the kind of tiredness that comes not from work, but from being taken for granted for far too long. "They say family is everything," she whispered. "But what happens when everything you are becomes their convenience?" The camera slowly zoomed in on her face, strong, beautiful, but heavy with exhaustion. She looked down at her phone, the screen glowing in the dark. Over 50 unread messages, all asking for one thing: money. Her brother Daniel, her Aunt Liza, her cousins, all of them knew one truth. Amina never said no. Flashbacks flooded her mind, paying Daniel's tuition while skipping her own meals, fixing Aunt Liza's leaking roof while she still lived in a rented room, and buying food for cousins who barely remembered her birthday. Every thank you was just another way of saying, "You'll do it again, right?" That night, Daniel called once more. His voice, casual but demanding, filled the silence. "Amina, I need some cash. Just a few days' help." She closed her eyes, her voice trembling. "You said the same thing last week." He sighed impatiently. "Come on, sis. Don't act like you're broke. You're the responsible one. Help me out." For a moment, she wanted to yell, to cry, to tell him how exhausted she was. But instead, she whispered, "Maybe being responsible was my biggest mistake." She didn't send the message this time. She just stared at it until the screen dimmed. The next morning, she was at work, her mind heavy. Her boss, Mr. Tund, noticed her distraction. "Amina," he said gently, "everything okay at home?" She smiled weakly. "Home is fine," she replied. "It's the people inside it that keep breaking it." He said nothing, but his eyes showed understanding. Later that day, she opened her wallet to find only a few crumpled notes and an old family photo. A frozen memory of smiles that once meant love, but had long turned into obligation. "I gave them everything," she thought. "My savings, my peace, my time." And still, it was never enough. That night, as thunder rolled above the city, Amina walked home through the rain. Her phone rang again, Aunt Liza this time. "Amina, your uncle needs money for medicine. You're our only hope." The raindrops slid down her face like tears as she muttered softly, "Do you even know what it feels like to be everyone's hope, but no one's priority?" She ended the call, and with each step through the storm, something inside her shifted. The drums of determination echoed faintly under the sound of rain. Days passed, then weeks. Slowly, Amina began to change. The woman who once sent money with a smile now sat at her small table, surrounded by papers. She printed every receipt, every transfer slip, every message where someone had promised to pay her back. The table looked like a battlefield, her silent war against years of emotional debt. "They called me their blessing," she whispered to herself. "But I was just their habit." She looked at the pile of papers and added coldly, "And habits can be broken." Weeks later came a bright Saturday afternoon, a family gathering. The house buzzed with laughter, gossip, and fake warmth. Amina walked in, composed but distant. "Amina," Aunt Liza smiled. "You finally made it." "I did," she replied calmly, setting a thick brown envelope on the table. "And I brought something for all of you." They looked confused. Daniel reached forward, opening the envelope. His face dropped as he saw the contents. Pages labeled with names and amounts. Daniel 2, 75,000. Aunt Liza minus 22,000. Uncle Joseph minus 30,000. He frowned. "What is this supposed to be?" Amina's tone was even. "It's the total of what I've given all of you over the years. Every favor. Every favor, every time you said you'd pay me back." Aunt Liza laughed nervously. "Can't be serious." Amina's eyes didn't blink. "You all treated me like a bank," she said firmly. "So today I'm closing the accounts." Silence filled the room. Even the clatter of cutlery stopped. Daniel slammed his hand on the table. "You've changed, Amina. Money's made you selfish." She stood up slowly, her voice calm but fierce. No, Daniel. I just learned the price of my kindness. Her chair scraped softly against the floor as she turned to leave. The camera focused on her face, the quiet strength of a woman reclaiming her worth. If you've ever been taken for granted, her voiceover whispered, if you've ever given until it hurt, then this is your moment to rise. Outside, the sun had begun to set, painting the sky in gold and red. She walked away from the house that had drained her for years. The music swelled, African drums mixed with gentle strings, a rhythm of liberation. At home, she opened her laptop, deleted the family group chat, and created a new document titled My Freedom Plan. Days turned into weeks again. Her energy was different, calm, focused, free. She saved her salary, invested carefully, and began building her dream. A small accounting consultancy that helped single mothers and young women manage their finances. Peace, she said with a soft smile. Feels nothing like guilt. Months later, as her business flourished, her phone rang again. The name flashed on the screen, Daniel. She hesitated, then answered. His voice was broken. Amina, please, things are bad. Everyone's fighting. We need you. Her eyes softened for a moment, but her voice stayed steady. I'm sorry, Daniel, but this time I send no payments, only prayers. The camera pulled back slowly, her silhouette framed against the warm glow of her new office. Her final words echoed like a quiet storm. They used me for years, but now the bill has been sent. And it's one they'll never forget. The sound of rain hitting the roof filled the silence of Nia's new apartment. It was quiet, almost too quiet for someone who once lived in a house full of people who couldn't stop calling her. Those people were her family, or at least, that's what she used to think. She sat on her couch, her laptop open, reading the emails that kept flooding in since the bill she sent 2 days ago went viral among them. Every single message began with the same tone. We didn't mean to hurt you. If misunderstood. We're family, Nia. That Nia didn't reply to any of them. Not this time. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her brother, Malik. The same brother who hadn't called her in 3 years unless he needed money. She watched his name flash on the screen, her fingers trembling. For a moment, old habits whispered in her ear. Answer him, Nia. Maybe he's changed. But then she remembered the last time she answered. He had called her selfish because she couldn't send him enough to cover his new car payment. That memory was enough to silence every doubt. She turned the phone over and let it ring out. Outside, thunder roared, a sound that matched the storm building inside her. She thought back to all the years she'd sacrificed everything, her dreams, her rest, her savings, just to see her family smile. She remembered wiring money at midnight from her tiny salary. She remembered pretending she was fine while skipping her own meals. And she remembered how they never once asked, "How are you, Nia?" It was always, "Can you send something?" Now she finally understood they never loved her. They loved what she could do for them. Then came the knock at her door. 3 loud knocks. Her chest tightened. Through the peephole she saw her mother. The woman who raised her. The woman who, years ago, had said, "You're the strong one, Nia. You'll carry us." Those words had once felt like love. Now they sounded like a curse. Nia opened the door slowly, unsure of what she'd say or what she'd hear. Her mother's eyes were swollen, her clothes damp from the rain. "My daughter," her mother began softly, her voice shaking, "why are you doing this to us?" Nia stood still, her throat dry. "Doing this? Mama, I'm just doing what you all did to me. I gave you everything I had for years, my money, my peace, my time, and you called it love. So I thought maybe you'd understand this kind of love too, the one that comes with a price tag." Her mother lowered her head. "You don't mean that? We're family." Nia sighed deeply. Family doesn't drain one person dry. Family doesn't remember you only when they need you. Family doesn't make you feel guilty for saying no. The silence that followed was heavy. Her mother finally whispered, "We didn't know you felt this way." Nia gave a sad smile. "You didn't want to know." Her mother wiped her tears. "So what happens now?" Nia looked away. "Now I live. For me. I don't need to be everyone's savior anymore. There was pain in her mother's eyes, real pain, but Nia couldn't carry it anymore. She'd been carrying everyone's pain for years while her own went unnoticed. For the first time, she felt the weight lifting. Her mother turned to leave, then stopped. "You've changed," she said quietly. Nia nodded. "I had too." As the door closed behind her mother, Nia felt a strange mix of sorrow and peace. Her heart hurt, but her soul finally breathed. She walked back to her table, opened her laptop again, and this time started typing not another bill, but her story. The story of a woman who loved too much, gave too much, and finally learned to say no. Weeks passed. Nia's story spread on social media. People, especially women, began sharing their own versions of being used, forgotten, and finally standing up for themselves. They called her the woman who sent the world an emotional invoice. She didn't expect fame, but she got something better: freedom. Then one afternoon her phone rang again. This time it wasn't family. It was a company offering her a book deal. They wanted her to write about her journey, the pain, the silence, and the courage it took to break free. Nia stared at the email for a long time, her eyes filling with tears. She whispered to herself, "Maybe this is what healing looks like." Before she could reply, message popped up from Malik, just for words. "I'm proud of you." She didn't reply, but she smiled. For once, those words didn't sound like manipulation. They sounded real. As the evening sun poured through her window, painting her apartment gold, Nia looked out and said softly, "They used me for years. I learned to use my pain for purpose." She picked up her journal and wrote her final line for the day. Some debts can't be paid with money, only growth." And to anyone watching this, remember, kindness isn't weakness. You don't owe your peace to those who drain you. Sometimes the best revenge is healing loudly, proudly, and freely. Before we continue, if you've ever felt used or unappreciated, hit that like button, comment "No more free energy," and let's build a community that chooses peace over guilt. As the music faded, the screen dimmed, and Nia's smile remained quiet, confident, and full of strength. Moral ending: never feel guilty for setting boundaries. People will call you selfish when they can't use you anymore, but that's when you know you've finally found your worth.